So I have been telling you don't eat meat, don't eat burgers and so on, and now you are thinking why? I mentioned several times that getting one burger as opposed to, let's say, one veggie burger involves a lot more resources, food for the cow. The cow is grazing, the cow is farting methane and so on and so forth, and it's a big cow and you get few little burgers, a lot of meat is wasted. If you're going to eat burger, you have to think about this. You are actually chopping up a cow and eating a burger, right? So uh, what exactly is involved? How can we reduce eating burgers, but also maybe just reduce the number of cows if we stop eating so many burgers? Imagine all the burger shops across the world selling so many burgers every day, right? Now you may be thinking, what is this strange light on this grandpa's face? The sun is setting in the west back there, and there is a nice building in front of my window which reflects the sun, gives me some nice natural light. You can see the back is not so bright. There is a light on in the other room because somebody is there. Remember, don't turn on the light unless somebody is there. I have a visitor. Usually I don't have anybody, but sometimes I do. So, what are we doing with the burgers and producing meat? Let's read a little bit. It's called Food for Thought. You know what that means when your mom says, why don't you think about it? And that's the food for your thought. A gag or a cork won't do anything to stop a cow's methane burps. It would just stop them from getting out, and because the ruminants are producing it inside, and before you know it, that burp-filled cow is going to float off like a hot air balloon if you're not careful. But let's be fair. The cow's not the only one producing greenhouse gases. Okay, other animals also pump up a load of greenhouse gases into the air, particularly the ruminants with all their stomachs. They have 4 stomachs that they eat everything quickly, and at night they are sitting there and chewing the cud, as they say. They move it from one chamber to another and digest it, bring it back and chew it up more, because they swallow it without chewing much in the first place, just to make sure they got enough food. We just need to make sure there are fewer cows in the future. Is that sad? No! We don't need to kill any cows for that. We can do it by allowing fewer cows to be born, by eating less meat and cheese. If people eat less beef, farmers will keep fewer cows. So if you want to do something about climate change, then eating less meat is good for a start, especially beef, lamb and meat from the ruminants. But it's also better for climate if you eat chicken or pork, but only slightly better than eating beef, lamb and meat. It's better for the climate, but it's even better to eat insects or vegetarian alternatives. There are a number of reasons for this. We don't want to run over something here. We say the farmer will have fewer cows if we eat less burgers, but then what does the farmer do after that for a living? If the farmer is making a living by having cows and selling milk and cheese and burgers, cows for meat, then you need to give the farmer an alternative option to make a living as well, because everything is connected. To keep cattle, you need lots of space, energy and water. That space is not only the meadow or the shed where the cow is standing, but they also eat a lot of food which is grown in big fields like soybean and corn, and those fields need water as well. Agricultural machines use fuel to sow the seeds and harvest all those crops, and you actually need to add in all of that if you want to know how much greenhouse gas a steak generates from the time the cow is born and grown and you get a hamburger on your plate. You could also use those fields to grow grain for humans instead of for cows, and you can feed way more than human with that grain than with meat from the cows. For a calorie of meat, you can use all that grain to feed the humans directly and without producing so many greenhouse gases for producing meat. By being smart when you choose what you buy and eat, you can make sure that fewer greenhouse gases go into the air, but that can be pretty tricky. Try finding chocolate spread without palm oil. Try finding chocolate spread. Not chocolate spread. Try finding chocolate spread without palm oil, for example, and if you do find it, then try spreading it. Palm oil is a gloopy substance that also contains a lot of energy. It's used in all kinds of things: chocolate, soap, cookies, chips, cattle feed, diesel. So there's a lot of demand for palm oil. But first you look at a chicken here and you look at the numbers. These are the black dots here. This is how many kilos of CO2 it takes to produce 1 kilo of chicken here. 6.9 kilos of CO2, and the chicken is happily eating the worms, so it's full of protein. It's going yummy yummy, I'm gonna eat you, not knowing that somebody is gonna eat him in a minute, right? And what else we have? So it takes 6.9 kilos of CO2 to produce 1 kilo of chicken, eggs, rice, broccoli, beef, cheese, and tomato. So there is 2.7 kilos of CO2 in this rice we are looking at. The egg is got 4.8 kilos of CO2 produced by the time it's born as an egg, and the broccoli is only taking 2 kilos of CO2 to produce. Is that great? Alright, so you know that broccoli is emitting much less CO2 than even rice, which is a rice paddy with methane, and egg is of course coming from the chicken, and the chicken is eating a lot of food to produce food for you. All those KFC chickens taste good, but they are not necessarily good for climate change and the environment, and maybe it's not so great for your health either. Mom may be saying eat the broccoli, it's good for your health, but you like chicken instead, and that too fried. So there is that aspect that our taste buds like certain fatty things. So altogether, tropical countries such as Indonesia and Malaysia are constantly starting up new palm plantations. That usually means they have to cut down and burn tropical forests that are full of special animals, rare plants, and locked up CO2. Lots of plantations are in peat areas which are packed with CO2 as well. As we learned before, when the peat burns or is exposed to the air, the CO2 goes back into the air. These countries have started to make laws to protect the forests better, but is everyone obeying those laws? If you have laws and nobody is watching, making sure nobody breaks the law, then it can be a problem. And there is a grasshopper saying, I am off. And here is how much CO2 it takes to produce a burger: 27 kilograms of CO2. And here is a little caterpillar or something talking to the grasshopper saying, I am packed with protein. And the grasshopper says, yes you are, and then it's off. A cheese takes 13.5 kilograms, while as the tomato takes only 1.1 kilo of CO2. Do you need to worry about this every time you eat something? Well, it's good to be mindful, it's good to think about it, and it's better to think about everything you are doing, so that if you feel like eating a little chicken today, maybe for next 3 days you eat only broccoli. Luckily you can eat strawberries without worrying too much, at least in the summer when the fruit comes popping out of the ground in many parts of the United States and Canada. But there are also strawberries on the shelves. In the winter, strawberries that have traveled long way from places that are warmer when it is winter in Canada and the US. Lots of CO2 has gone into the air to cultivate and transport the strawberries. And there are local strawberries from greenhouses which use a lot of energy as well. Which is the better choice? Are you old enough to even know about it or think about it, worry about it? You should be worrying about homework and learning and having fun and playing and inventing things and building rockets and so on. You have 10 seconds to think though about which is better, the strawberry on the shelves from the greenhouse, local greenhouse, and so on. Tick, 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 tick. What is your answer? The local greenhouses take a lot of energy to eat, so much energy that you might be better off eating strawberries from a long way away. So even though it's coming from a local greenhouse, maybe it's using more energy than a strawberry that's coming from far away. So even the strawberry coming from far away may be traveling by plane, but still you have to do the energy calculations to see strawberries that have come by road could be even better than those that came by plane, and both could be better than that is grown in a greenhouse very close to you. But it's best to wait until it's summer again, so that you just wait for strawberries when it is season. They can grow naturally and be served to you. They start coming up out of the ground near home because transportation produces lots of CO2, whether it's by truck, plane, or boat. You may not be living near a strawberry field. There are always strawberry picking holiday. You can go to the farm and pick it yourself, and it's nice and lush and plump, and you got to clean it and eat it, and you have to worry about CO2 all the time. That's very hard to do. Let's say your mom is busy, she has to go to work, dad is traveling, and so on. Then can she worry about carbon footprint of everything she's giving you for lunch? A slice of cheese, a slice of bread, a slice of tomato, and a little meat, and so on? Of course not. So you have to remember these things. You have to think about those things. You have to be aware of these things, and you can always ask mom, do you know where this strawberry came from? Make sure she's not very busy when you ask that, because then she may get upset. So ask her when you're sitting quietly in her lap or sitting next to her and reading something and she looks relaxed, and say, Mom, where are all the tomatoes and the strawberries in the refrigerator coming from? Maybe she has paid attention to them. If she hasn't, then you can tell them all about these carbon footprints when they're produced in a greenhouse nearby, or flown in from somewhere, or trucked in from somewhere else. Okay, so you may know more about these things than mom, because mom has been busy doing other things like working for you and cooking for you and cleaning for you and packing lunch for you and so on. Okay, we'll come back and talk about from frying to flying. So what are the various modes of transportation and transporting people and goods, and what do they add? So just now think about it. You are eating a tomato and you are thinking, where was it grown? How was it brought here? How much CO2 was emitted to give me this tomato? Right? This is how we are creating climate change. Everything we do is climate change, greenhouse gas. Okay? See you in the next podcast.